Chapter 18 Day 2, 1600 hours. Cameron sat on a log next to a fire that Floof had constructed. He bit into some bacon that Pag had cooked and looked around at everyone in his party. He was happy that they were all alive and with him. He liked every single one of his party members for a different reason. They were good people, loving people who just needed a place to be. Cameron watched as Floof argued with Gino about something or another and chuckled when Pag tripped over a root that had grown up through the ground. Maria was talking with Amanda. Girl talk, he imagined, for they were the only two females in the group. Cameron watched as Amanda, probably to her dismay, cracked a smile a few times as the beautiful grown-up woman gave her attention. Cameron wondered where they all came from, what their lives were like before Happy Island. From what he understood about the qualifications to get into Happy Island, he imagined everyone had lived pretty terrible existences. As he sat quietly and ate to himself, he wished that he knew more. He wanted to know more about his daughter, Courtney, and his wife, Sarah. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had done something to terribly alter his life so much that he ended up on Happy Island. As he took another bite of the blackened bacon, he sighed. "Floof," Cameron called out. "Come here real quick." Floof happily paused his debate with Gino and trotted over to Cameron, who motioned for him to take a seat, and Floof obliged. Cameron began to speak, but tried to craft his words carefully. "I'm sorry for everything." "Nothing to apologize for," Floof replied with a bewildered expression. "You have done nothing but help." "I mean, I know I've tried," Cameron continued, "but everything that happened back at your camp, I can't shake the feeling that there was something more we could have done. I feel like I may have made the wrong call, that we could have saved more people, you know." "Yes, I relate to that feeling." Floof's voice went a bit deeper and more solemn. "But an important part of life is learning to live with your decisions. Heavens know I have undoubtedly made my fair share of mistakes." "What were you?" Cameron asked. "Before Happy Island." "Oh," Floof sighed and looked away. "I was this and I was that. I did my best, but luck didn't seem to favor old Floof, you know." "Any kids? Any family?" "I had parents," Floof replied. "For a time. But as all things in life, they went away one day. As far as children, I highly doubt it. I have yet to remember anything of the sort. No relationships that could have led to babies or anything. The last memory I had was of me haphazardly lighting my roommate's kitchen on fire as I attempted to boil a brick of ramen. Fortune did not favor me that day, for I was promptly removed from the premises and left to fend for myself on the street." "You're so well-spoken," Cameron noted. "You're loving and kind. How could someone as good as you end up on the streets?" "Well, Cameron," Floof paused to collect his words, "as I said, fortune and prosperity are not always the clear fruit of good intentions and well wishes. I think bad things just happen sometimes. Chaos is all around us, you know. Perhaps I was just in the wrong place one too many times." "So, what do you think of this place?" Cameron asked. "Of Happy Island?" "Some I have met have called this place hell," Floof prefaced. "But I prefer to look at it from a different perspective. This place, this land, is an opportunity. Yes, we were given the clear instruction to reduce our numbers to 10 if we wanted to leave this place. I, however, see no logical reason to return home. We were unwanted at home, outcast, abandoned, imprisoned. I have met no soul here who had a happy life back on Earth. Why wouldn't I want to build something else here, a new life for myself and for others like me, like us?" Cameron's eyes wandered to the campfire that burned in front of them. He wondered if Floof's perspective was the right one. The idea of killing 990 people for the sake of 10 seemed bizarre and immoral to him. They had the tools, the framework, and the possibility of creating a home on Happy Island. Cameron wondered if perhaps the place he was in was more than just a video game show. He wondered if the designers had more in mind than just senseless killing. "I don't want to see any more people die," Cameron said. "I know that much is true, but my memories have revealed to me that I have a daughter back at home, a wife. They're waiting for me there. Would you rather see everyone here die so that you can return to those you love?" Floof asked. "That's not a loaded question, by the way. From what I understand about fatherhood, people would be willing to let the entire population of the world die merely for their child to have a chance." "That's hard to answer, Floof," Cameron said. "Would you be able to live with yourself if Maria died so that you could obtain your goal? If Pag or Amanda died?" "I don't know," Cameron sighed. "I wouldn't kill any of you to get back to my family." "But you would kill people you don't know," Floof returned. Cameron was at a loss for words. He didn't want to think that he would, but after witnessing the birth of Courtney, he was tormented, torn in a selfish direction. Cameron sighed and took another bite of bacon. "I know I said that chaos abounds, and that bad things happening is out of our control," Floof said softly. "But in my eyes, that does not negate the need for good. You see, Cameron, we as human beings have an opportunity. We can add to the pain and suffering of others, or we can detract from it. By doing good, we are waging war against the bad things that happen to us. We are fighting for a better life for ourselves and those we love. I won't say that there is some kind of cosmic scale weighing our decision and punishing or rewarding us for them, but I will summon the oft-said quote that every action has a reaction. That is why, when I can, I sow seeds of love, of peace and comfort and harmony. Perhaps a cold heart will benefit from it and not kill somebody I like or even me." "You're a good person, Floof," Cameron said sincerely. "I don't know if anybody has ever told you that, but you are." "Yes, many people have told me that," Floof replied. "But thank you. I appreciate that, Cameron." Cameron nodded and stood from the log he was sitting on. He looked over his party, and with a final nod, he rounded everyone up. "All right, guys," he said as he paced the camp. "My map says that Bernard is on the other side of these plains ahead of us. I know most of you have no idea who he is, but he is one of us. He and Maria rescued me from the Slayers, and honestly, I think he's in trouble. If you look out there beyond the plains where the terrain elevates, you can see a gorge. Bernard's position is smack dab in the middle of that gorge. I reckon it's about a 2-mile trek through wide-open territory, so if any of you have second thoughts and want to hang back, I completely understand." Amanda raised her hand, signifying she wanted to remain behind, and Cameron shook his head. "That's a negative, darling. We're not leaving you alone." The girl sighed and lowered her head, and Cameron looked around. Everyone else seemed resolute on going, and Maria was smiling widely. "What?" Cameron asked with a smile of his own. "What's so funny?" "Watch this," she said as she bit her tongue and stepped toward the plains. She stood silently, and after a few moments, a truck suddenly appeared in front of her out of nowhere. She turned toward Cameron and maintained her smile. "Ta-da!" she exclaimed as she held her arms out in a behold sort of way. Everyone burst into cheering, and Cameron's eyes grew wide. "How on earth did you do that?" Cameron asked. "Well, we're not on Earth for one," Maria replied. "And to answer your question, I bought it with happy coins. My subscribers all pitched in so I could afford it." "Oh, hell yeah!" Gino exclaimed as he ran toward the driver door. "I'm driving!" "Shotgun!" Pag shouted as he ran forward. Cameron caught him by the collar and pulled him back, shaking his head. "I got front, kid," Cameron said. "You squeeze in the back with everyone else." "Ugh," Floof complained. "I have to squeeze with the other three?" "You'll be fine. It's gonna be a short ride," Gino said with a glimmer in his eyes. "I can get us there quick." "If you can reach the pedals," Floof grumbled as he walked to the passenger side back door. Everyone piled in, and Gino turned the key. The vehicle roared to life, and he whooped. "Let's get this show on the road, then," Gino shouted as he hit the gas. The truck spun out and kicked up a trail of dust behind them as they took off across the plains. "Oh my!" Floof exclaimed as they drove over the terrain. "Please do try and miss some of the bumps, will you?" Gino jerked the steering wheel to the right, and Floof crashed against the door. He growled, but did not make any further suggestions. Cameron watched out the windshield as the gorge got closer and closer. He could make out something within the gorge. It looked like an industrial-looking facility of some sort, perhaps a refining plant or something. He double-checked his map and nodded. They were heading straight for Bernard. As they approached the opening of the gorge, Cameron motioned for Gino to slow down. Gino followed his instruction and navigated the vehicle just to the left of the opening. He turned the vehicle around just in case they needed to beat a hasty retreat, and then threw it in park. "We're here," Gino called back. "Load up," Cameron said. "I have no idea what's in that gorge. We may have a fight on our hands." Everyone double-checked their weapons to make sure they were loaded to capacity, and Cameron threw open his door. The party hopped out of the truck and hurried behind Cameron as he led the way into the gorge. Floof pushed his way to the front, activating his ethereal shield spell to protect them from incoming fire. A blue light like the one Stephen had used illuminated in front of them, and Floof looked back at everyone. "I have the highest HP and armor," Floof said. "I will take point. The rest of you, keep your eyes peeled." Amanda ran up beside Floof and formed another ethereal shield. He looked down at her, nodded, and the group advanced. The industrial complex slowly came into view as they passed into the gorge. To their right was a tall metal building of some kind, and below that was what Cameron referred to as the refineries. He had no idea if that was what they really were, but it fit. Cameron couldn't see anyone other than his party as they slowly sneaked into the complex. His eyes searched the area, but there was no movement, no noise. He quickly checked his map and saw that Bernard appeared to be in one of the refineries below. Cameron informed Floof of this, and Floof nodded as he guided the group toward the refinery. They approached a chain-link fence and cautiously stepped through the open gate. As soon as Maria crossed through, however, a wall suddenly shot up from the ground, blocking their exit. "Ambush!" Gino shouted as he raised his rifle to scan for enemies. Gunfire erupted all around them, and Amanda and Floof did their best to protect the ones behind them from any incoming rounds. Floof threw up a wall, giving them a bit of additional protection. "Inside the building!" Cameron called out as a few stray bullets whizzed past them. "We're sitting ducks out here!" Gino and Maria provided covering fire as Cameron and Pag ran inside. Floof and Amanda covered Gino and Maria until they were inside, and then Floof nodded for Amanda to hurry in as well. As Floof turned to enter the building, however, a wall went up over the door, and he was trapped outside. "Floof!" Gino screamed from within the dark building. He pounded his fist against the wall over and over again. "Go on!" Floof shouted. "I will find another way!" At that, Floof went silent. "God damn it!" Gino roared as he pounded against the wall one final time. "Come on, we need to kill as many as we can so that they don't kill Floof!" Gino switched to his axe and ran behind Amanda and her ethereal shield as she led the way into the building. They rounded a corner and gunfire erupted. Amanda's shield deflected the burst, and Maria swung around the side and tagged their enemy with her rifle. They heard a scream, but the gunfire didn't stop. "Pag, fireball!" Cameron shouted as he launched his own in the direction of their enemy. Pag followed suit, and the guy was knocked. "Take him out, Maria!" Cameron shouted. She fired a single shot, and he fell to the floor, dead. "I don't see any more," Amanda called back. "Let's go!" Cameron had reservations about letting a 10-year-old girl lead the charge into battle, but there was nothing he could do at that point. He nodded, and she ran forward, protecting the rest of them. They rounded another corner, and a waist-high wall suddenly went up. Gino spat at it, leaped on top of it, and vaulted to the other side, cleaving the skull of an enemy. Another charged them, but Amanda was quick with her sword, sliding on the bloody ground and kneecapping their foe. He screamed and fell to the ground legless, and Amanda spun and planted her weapon through his head. "Oh my," Pag declared. "I think I might be sick." "No time for being a bitch," Maria called out as she blasted with her rifle. "Throw your fireballs or go hide!" Pag seemed to debate which was the better choice, but then a bad guy rounded the corner and raised an axe at him. Pag squealed and launched a fireball at him, blasting him onto the ground. He aimed a pistol he had equipped at the guy and emptied its magazine into him. "Good job, Pag!" Cameron shouted as he launched a fireball at his own target. He pulled his revolver from its holster and fired as his fireball cooled down. After another fireball, his target was dead. Player Ivan eliminated. Level 7, plus 88 experience. 88 experience! Cameron shouted amongst the chaos, almost insulted. That's garbage!
Worry about it later, love,
Maria shouted back as she knocked another of them.
We're a bit busy here.
The gunfire and shouting stopped, and everyone paused and regrouped behind Amanda. Cameron and Pag charged new fireballs, and Maria swapped out magazines. Gino breathed heavily, growling as he did, and suddenly walls went up around the entire group. They were trapped in a cube, and everyone started to panic. The sound of something metal hitting the floor rang through their ears. Cameron looked down and watched as a grenade rolled just under his feet. His eyes grew wide, and Amanda quickly pushed him out of the way and pressed her ethereal shield against the explosive.
Hold on,
she shouted as she gritted her teeth together hard. The grenade exploded, disintegrating Amanda's shield and sending the little girl flying over the edge of the walls. Shouts could be heard, as well as gunfire and tiny footsteps pounding against the floor. "Break down the walls, Gino!" Cameron screamed. "We have to get out there to help her!" Gino slammed his axe into the wall over and over again, breaking pieces of it away with every hit. Finally, the walls collapsed, and everyone poured out to find Amanda covered in blood and panting heavily. Her katana was outstretched, and she scowled furiously at the corpses that surrounded her.
Why don't we just send her to clear out the entire damn building?
Gino laughed as he ran and scooped up the girl.
You're a fucking beast, kiddo!
Amanda couldn't help it. She smiled and broke into laughter as Gino swung her around. Finally, he put her down, and Cameron ran up to her to make sure she was okay. "Are you hurt?" he asked frantically. "Did they get you?"
"A couple times."
She turned her arm to reveal a few bullet wounds, but then shrugged her shoulders.
"I've taken worse."
Cameron shook his head and hugged the little girl. "You did great," he whispered. "I'm proud of you." At that, Cameron suddenly felt a wave of vertigo. "Oh no," he whispered as the world began to spin around him. "Not now!" He heard the gunfire start again and watched as walls rose around him. As the darkness quickly overcame him, Cameron could do nothing to fight it. A memory was coming, and he had no choice but to view it.